One thing that I've learned in life is to look at everything in context, a context of time and space. We've all been shaken out of our black swan blindness. What really is a black swan event? One which has three important characteristics: rarity, extreme impact, and retrospective predictability. It's important to note that in that context, that the finance minister began her speech saying that the preparation of this budget was undertaken in an environment like nothing before. The way we measure and look at risk has fundamentally changed forever. The post corona world will be a world that would have been shaped by uncertainty, a world where overconfidence will not be fed by the illusory certainty of the hindsight. As CEOs reassess the risk they inhabit in a post corona world, there will be an upside to thinking differently by focusing on the anti knowledge, the stuff that you do not know, by not overestimating how much you understand the world and underestimating the role of change in events. It is no wonder that the pandemic has brought into spotlight how badly we need to meet the infrastructure demands of this country. Crisis is the time for bold steps and big opportunities. The Biden finance minister alluded to the Margaret Thatcher-like privatization drive. But I think people are that disappointed that crisis like this would have been time for much bolder opportunities, especially on taxation front, which really has been something most anticipated by the Aam Janta in the budget. I want to understand from you, Pranay, beginning with you, that do you think that this budget, which could really have been a game changer, especially on tax reform, was nothing, and people are that disappointed where not much money is left in the hands of the common people, especially in these difficult times?
Right. No, sure, Shrija, if you look at it from an overall perspective, I think this was a great opportunity which Madam FM had in terms of seeing what kind of tax reforms that can be built into the system. One way to look at it is that, yes, there is not much done from, say, for example, changing the tax rates or taxing the richer, which has been the trend. If you look at some of the global economies, they have gone ahead and raised taxes, levied surcharges on the richer class of the people to say that, okay, we're going to collect more. But I think, the current intent has been to stay away from changing any tax rates, continuing with the same tax regime, which kind of gives some kind of a certainty to the taxpayers at large, be it corporate taxpayers, be it individuals, or whatever it is. So from that perspective, this seems to be one move in that direction. But having said that, there were a lot of opportunities to do much better. For example, does it make sense to give greater deductions, for example, to individuals to say that, you have been investing into, insurance, you have been investing into various things. Should you get a larger limit for ATC, for example? But that has not been changed. The limit of 1,50,000, which was, pegged a few years back, continues to be at that number, in spite of the fact that there has been an inflation and, you have seen the rupee depreciate. But still, those numbers have not been changed. Nothing done from the real estate sector perspective. We've seen that this real estate sector, states are doing their bits in terms of saying that, okay, we are going to charge a lower stamp duty when you do a transaction in these difficult times. But there is no great support coming from center, except for the one last amendment which came in, that instead of 5% now we're going to look at a 10% window from the fair valuation perspective. But there are many, many other things that could have been done, which are, kind of, restrained in that sense. So I would say that, there was an opportunity to leave little more money on the table for the taxpayer, divert those funds for investments. You already now set up a debt fund also for infrastructure. Would you not want Indian public also at large to invest in those funds? Give them a special deduction for investing in those bonds or in those instruments. But I think as a thought process, which is coming out as of now. So that's a quick comment on the tax overall thing, and happy to share more.
That was pretty meaningful coming from you, Pranay. And I think Pranay has sort of set the context in the right motion, saying that perhaps there were more misses than hits when talk about taxation front. It looked like that the finance minister has put a lot of thrust on infrastructure and health, because one of those sectors, like I mentioned and alluded in my opening remarks, that the way we look at risk has forever changed, and the pandemic has brought certain things into spotlight like never before. I want to understand from you, Neeru, that this is a different different budget. The preparation was in a different kind of environment. Do you think that the taxation, the tax reforms equation perhaps has been sidelined for far more important things which have grabbed the attention of the finance minister for now? What is your sense?
Right. Thanks for that question. I think this was a first in budgets in many ways. It's the first budget of the new decade, starting 21. It is a budget clearly with the theme of digital, and we see the digital theme coming out in various different ways. It is also in the backdrop of extraordinary year we've all had because of COVID. It is also in the backdrop of a huge fiscal deficit, because of which the government is actually proposing to change the law itself, the FRBM, Act. So it is in the backdrop of all of these things that I think the finance minister really had very limited options in terms of reducing any tax rates. So, like you rightly said, the emphasis has more been on infrastructure, health. Even when we look at the tax laws, the changes which have been, I was quickly going through the detailed document which has just come in. There are a lot of amendments suggested, but which are more impacting the businesses and the corporate sector, demands for certain simplifications and rationalizations and clarifications. As far as individuals or personal taxpayers are concerned, or the middle class is concerned, yes, I think people are a little disappointed, so on the one hand, the good news is that there are no new taxes, right? And on the other hand, the bad news is that the slabs and the rates have not changed at all. So, we were expecting standard deduction also to increase because of the expenses people have incurred in the work from home environment, or like my co-panelist said, on ATC, etc. So those things have not happened, and I think that is, the fact is also that the salaried taxpayer is the single biggest contributor of income tax to the government budget. So even a little bit of tinkering in the slab rates has a huge impact. And perhaps the finance minister did not have that as a priority as of now. But having said that, they have looked at sort of making it easier for people to do their taxes. So one important measure, which again is a digital measure, they're saying we'll come out with pre-filled tax returns, so common man will not have to struggle to get numbers and do calculations. The form will be pre-filled with data from different sources, and you just have to probably push a button and file it. Another example is that for senior citizens, they don't really need to file returns. The bank will do their calculations and file returns. Similarly, one or two other changes, there'll be no TDS on dividends, she announced, and also extension of the housing borrowing cost deduction for a year. So there are some of these measures, but of course, no changes in tax rates.
So basically, not necessarily a game changer, but like what Neeru sort of mentioned, that perhaps the focus was more on the business and corporate side, and there was intentionally not much tinkering done with the Janta, because that remains the single largest contributor to the government's income tax gains. I want us to understand from you now, Pranay, that just before this panel discussion, we was talking to private equity investors, a partner at a law firm, and from a real estate perspective, and there was unanimously the sentiment coming in that this could have been a game changer budget. There could have been some bolder moves, and perhaps the disinvestment target was also conservative, and there was not much parity given on the unlisted and the unlisted aspects. Also, the private equity investor is still not treated par with the listed player. I want to understand from you that there's huge disappointment when it comes to taxation, really. There were no major tax reforms also. For instance, we had Neeru's colleague just a day previously, and she was referring to the fact that perhaps there would be a COVID cess and a wealth tax. Nothing in that direction also. So I want to understand from you that really, a dampener when it comes to taxation. How should the corporates and the private equity investors look at it?
Right. So I think you're right, Shrija, that in terms of the opportunity and what could have been done, definitely a lot could have been done. both from the perspective of a new taxation regime or introduction of specific regimes. For example, you look at a sector such as telecom, and just imagine your life and imagine this call, for example, wouldn't have been happening if if the telecom sector was not supporting the economy at large. Now we have not even brought a single amendment to talk of any kind of relief to a sector such as important as telecom, which is connecting all of us today, allowing us to do work from home, allowing governments to pass budgets or important notification just from where they are, helping us in these COVID times. Nothing was brought in there. I think there were a lot of areas where we could have seen. In fact, if yeah, I mean, of course, we are yet to go through the text of the budget announcements in detail. But something like saying that okay, we are now not going to go ahead with the settlement commission as a regime, looking to put a stop on the advance ruling. I think these are some of the things, if you are saying on one hand that we want to bring in a dispute resolution mechanism for smaller taxpayers, and it seems to me that the intent is that once you have stabilized that dispute resolution mechanism, you would extend it to larger taxpayers, hopefully going forward. But on the other hand, something like a settlement commission, authority for advance ruling, on which you actually went ahead and invited foreign investors to say that we will give you an advance ruling. Don't worry about the tax position. We are going to give you clarity. Now that is something being taken away as a part of this budget. I think that is something where I think that are we headed in the right direction? So if you look at a corporate, right, you have now again taken a very small decision to and say that okay, I will not even allow you a depreciation on goodwill that you acquire as a part of an overall business. Why would you do that? Why would you want to always take away something which is very much there, and take it away from the taxpayer? I think the intent of okay, let me try and bring in something new, let me try and give some game changing tax laws on the table, and allow taxpayers to kind of really do a lot of things, contribute to economy in a positive way. I think that all, I think, as you rightly said, the focus has been more on the 6 pillars which were discussed as a part of the speech, and not really on the taxation aspects. So I think that's where I think we at least I felt that much more could have been done here.
Neeru, you want to add to that what Pranay just spoke about?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm a slightly different thing from Pranay, I think the corporates and businesses have had it quite good, if you ask me. They've already had their tax cuts last year and last to last year. The corporate tax rates have gone down substantially. And in fact, if you compare the tax rates, one of the issues which I mentioned for corporates is as low as 15% plus, which comes to around 17% for manufacturing, whereas the maximum marginal rate for individuals is around 42 or 43%. So, I think corporates have had it good for them. The tax rates have already been reduced. You see, the biggest worry of the corporates today is any level of uncertainty and the litigation part. So, I think the financial outgo of tax is not much now for corporates. It's more of these irritants, like uncertainty or litigation. And I think the government has announced, I was just going through. So, Pranay, while they've taken away the advance ruling authority, they are saying they will come up with a new scheme called it the Board of Advance Rulings. So perhaps they're trying to do some major reforms in that. And I hope they will come out with some good scheme where taxpayers can get certainty. For the smaller
Yes.
taxpayers, they've got the DRC, the Dispute Resolution Committee, to come in. Also equalization levy, we were all asking for certain clarifications. Some clarifications have come out. So I think they're actually listening to the corporate sector and the irritating issues, or, they're not really roadblocks, but the smaller issues they are trying to resolve one way or the other, right? So I think the
So
corporates.
Aam Janata and middle class is a real mess. So
Yes,
corporates have been
yes,
focused on
yes,
what you're
yes,
saying.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Akai
So,
might
so sorry,
yeah.
before we go there, I think there's one point that I would like to make. If you see the economic survey, and there are a lot of points being spoken about, R&D, innovation, the lack of number of patents which are filed in India. Now there are various issues surrounding the patent filing, etc. But there was an opportunity here to take cue from some of the key points which are emerging even from an economic survey, and say that okay, we are going to give you more reduction in terms of R&D, or we are going to look at seeing how can you do more research, file more patents, get only thing that has been introduced is a one-person company to continue to do a startup business, which is great. I'm not saying no, but I'm saying that where are those related changes from a tax perspective, where you say, okay, on one hand, I'm giving you a one-person company, but on the other hand, I'm giving you this tax regime where you come here and do this. You have always continued to say, okay, startup would remain startup. If you hit a particular turnover threshold, are you going to lose startup benefits? Those issues which remained in past are not at all even attempted to be addressed. I think that's where I think it becomes a little bit of irritant. When you had so much on the table, and this government started by saying, okay, we are going to invite comments from the month of November, December. They are taking on all the comments, they're taking on all the inputs, and they've not done enough with all the inputs that were there on the table. I'm sure they have taken a lot of things, they have done a few things, and by not doing a few things, they have done good. I'm not denying that, but I'm saying, as you rightly put it, there is an opportunity that was there, and some of these things were not kind of fully picked up or fully brought on the taxation front. That's what. Sorry, Sarah, Neeru, I thought I'll maybe just add a point there.
So that brings me to my next question. I think that was the next great segue to the next thing. I think Neeru also made an important point saying that Aam Janta and middle class is a total miss clearly, and perhaps some irritants for corporate sector has been looked into. And Pranay's point is that while there's attention going to corporates, much also still needs to be done, especially for the telecom sector or the R&D or the startups. I want to understand from you, do you think that much has been done for the startup and SMEs, just given how they were ravaged by the pandemic, and there were much expectation, at least for the MSME sector, that they had, that the government will do something taxation front to revive them? Do you think something has been done in that regard or not?
Neeru, over to you, I think.
Okay, okay. So, Shrija, I think there have been some tax changes for startups. I think, you see, what is the problem with the startups? We do have a nation which has, very bright youngsters. And in fact, the FM mentioned about India's cricket win in Australia and the qualities that were demonstrated. And we were all heartened with that. So, we want to bring those qualities to the fore in business as well, right, of the Indian youth. I think what is really needed is institutions to take care of these budding businessmen and businesswomen. Someone to handhold them and walk them through, the laws, the compliance. You see, if a person is starting their own business, they are struggling to build the business. They're looking at funding. They're looking at what is their real worry. They don't have the time to file tax returns or even to understand what are the laws or around which I have to do the paperwork. So I think in terms of startups and MSMEs, we really need institutional support to nurture them, to bring them up and grow them. Of course, there are some tax exemptions which government has provided and which have been extended as well. But I think what we really need is more hand-holding and nurturing in every sense, because even these tax exemptions, there are a lot of conditions attached. They have to go for approvals, get the approvals, etc. So perhaps a more creative incubating kind of environment can be looked at.
Pranay, you want to add to that before I get to my last round of questioning, which really is that if you were to ask one question to the Madam Finance Minister, which really remain unanswered, and you really have this on back of your mind that, if I were to speak to FM, I would add that, what would that really be?
I think I don't want to add anything to what, in addition to what, what we spoke and what Neeru also rightly said. I think we as India, we need that incubation center, or, we need more of those incubators who would come up, step up to this great opportunity that we have as a country, and channelize our energies there. So fully in sync with what Neeru's point is. But coming to your last question, Shrija, honestly speaking, there were so many things which I thought could have been done, specifically on a taxation front, that and again, this telecom sector remains, to be, and that's why my first response came for this sector, that why have we not pushed enough in terms of bringing telecom sector, giving some more life to this sector, because it is needed. A lot of things were there. Why, a sector such as this needs more than 15 years to really come positive and contribute to the taxes of the country. Why are you asking them to pay MAT? Or is 15-year enough window for the purposes of claiming MAT credits, for example? Those questions are always remained as unanswered as of now. And are we going to somehow help this sector, because this is the critical sector, and this sector is linked with everything that is happening in the economy, right from the smallest retailer to the startups to the large corporates. Everyone this sector is touching, and this sector is not getting enough attention at this point in time, is my question. So that would have been my question to the FM if I had a chance to meet man.
Neeru, what would yours be?
Okay, so the segment I would like to discuss with the FM would be the working women or empowerment of women. She talked about one of her pillars as human capital, and half the human capital is women. And, let me share with you that in this year of COVID, it's the working women who have taken the maximum beating. In addition to having double their tasks of working at home, working from home, working in offices, I think working women have really taken a beating, and we have seen women falling out of their jobs as well, more than men perhaps. So I think really we need a concentrated effort to take the nation forward. The better half of the nation, the women, need some special tender loving care. They need some extra tax breaks. They need some extra incentives. So I would say please address this segment as a special segment.
Okay. Thank you, Neeru, and thank you, Pranay, for your meaningful comments. And I think it's a very honest discussion that we had here. Pranay was extremely insightful and forthcoming, saying that, listen, I'm hugely disappointed. There was much on taxation front. Neeru, as usual, is trying to balance it out and saying that, listen, there was much given already. There could have been more, but it's not a damn script on total. So thank you, Neeru, and thank you, Pranay, for your time and energy to this. And look forward to having both of you and more of our sessions in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.